Film Club.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Film Club. I'm one of your hosts, Andy Harrison, and with me, as always, it's Andy Donaldson.
Hello.
Every week in Film Club, we invite you along to watch a film with us, and this week, we're watching Get Carter.
Featuring Jack Carter himself, whose brother's just died, so he goes up north to Newcastle, where the Geordies live, to kind of isolate and identify the reason behind his brother's death. Quite a dark film, 1971, and it's directed by Mike Hodges in his directorial debut, and features the legendary Michael Caine, which, believe it or not, is, aside from Zulu, is the only other film I've seen young Michael Caine. I don't know what the threshold is for old and new Michael Caine, but what did you think of it?
I've seen Mike Hodges, probably best known for Flash Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
I love the fact that Get Carter is nothing like that. This is very much trying to take a bit of the gangster film, a bit of the British gangster film, and trying to present it in a really grounded, really subdued, very natural way. First off, they're achieving that just wholeheartedly with the cinematography of this film.
Yeah, it's great.
It's fit. It's sort of shot almost cinema verite. It's very like fly on the wall documentary-ish. Apparently, like even a bunch of the B unit filmmakers were documentary filmmakers. He was very specific about only wanting documentary filmmakers for that stuff.
It's really cool.
That also blends over, I noticed, into a really sparse soundscape.
Oh, mate, it's the best thing for me of this film.
The music in it is just like, it's got this really nice sort of like jazz that sort of comes and goes a little bit. And the way in which they do that is like really stripped back, It's very, very rare the music actually is used in this to motivate the film. And then all the performances, sorry, I should say most of the performances are quite minimal performances. They're very, very small. None better than Michael Caine.
Oh, he's brilliant.
Everyone else is desperately trying to reach his level of just like very sort of
cool,
very, very calm, very minimalistic. A lot of his movements are very particular. They're very, very small in scale.
And go back to my original question. How did you feel about it?
This is not my cup of tea in terms of, personal preference. It's a film that for me is a little bit too sparse and relies on that grim, gritty realism a little bit too much. So I think I find I like its intentions more than I actually enjoyed it.
I agree with you, and I'm glad you said that, because I found going through it's very slow-paced, as you said, methodical kind of film that relies on a lot of its technicalities and, as you said, soundscape, cinematography to speak for the film and the performance of, as you said, Michael Caine. But I did struggle at parts throughout the film, just sheerly for the pacing alone, for the sheer vast amount of characters. But it's not to say it's a bad film. My personal preference is when I watch Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. Whilst it's a fantastic looking film, fantastic film in terms of acting and even the plot to an extent, I did struggle with that personally. And I found the same with Get Carter. Just there was a lot going on in terms of characterization, who's this, who's that names. But I just want to jump back to a point you mentioned in regards to the soundscapes, which were brilliant. The use of sounds and contrast that with the lovely use of minimal audio was brilliant. But it had kind of that thematic tone that went throughout the film, a bit like what The Godfather had with that music, like that theme that kept coming in and out, and it used it very well with this. Roy Budd did a cracking job with the jazzy score, and I thoroughly loved it. However, on the same basis, I also felt, to use Francis Ford Coppola, I also felt this film had quite a bit of influence. I say this influence from The Conversation, but when I looked into it, this actually predates the Conversation, which came out in 1974.
The one thing we have to mention, right? Obviously, it's this whole film's shtick really is Michael Caine is essentially a London gangster, and he's coming back up to the northeast.
Oh, and best place.
I mean, for us, we every so often we have this running trend of like, I don't know, every 30, 40 films or something, we seem to end up doing a film from the northeast of England or based somewhat in the north of England.
And this was unintentional for me.
Yeah, and none have hit closer to home really than Get Carter. Literally hit closer to home, as in it's actually produced in Newcastle.
Even the closing scene where he's on the beach, which is a brilliant scene, by the way. The ending of the film, that's just set in Hartlepool, which is around the corner.
in the 2000s, actually in the year 2000, there was a American remake of Get Carter.
Oh, God.
Featuring Sylvester Stallone.
How does that even work? How does that even work?
I watched a little bit of it before we started recording.
All right.
And it's not good. It's just not good at all.
Yeah, it is interesting to see its ties to the area. I did not expect this. This came off a recommendation of one of my social circles that they were very, very high speaking, saying it's his best performance by Michael Caine.
It really is like a fantastic performance from him. He was already a little bit established at this point. Michael Caine could have definitely done bigger budget films, but chose to do this because the character spoke to him a little bit, apparently. He saw a little bit of his upbringing sort of in the Carter character. And I think none of it shows better, absolutely none of it shows better than in my favourite scene in this film, and actually one of the scenes I think re-motivated this film. I felt it was flagging a little bit. And the scene at which he discovers the pornographic film that obviously has his niece in, he gives one of the most astounding performances of his career in that scene, I think.
I agree, because it is also one of my favourite moments of the film. There's a shot straight after that you need to commend as well. That is terrific framing when he's coming up the stairs and he's talking to the girl in the bath, and he's like kind of prying for information about this recording, how it came to be, and then you go from this kind of like very, as he said before, calm and collected nature to this sudden onset of aggression and anger and fueled rage, chaotic rage. But previous to that, his performance whilst watching it and that breakdown that he has. Harrowing, indeed. It's a very dark film. There's that scene at the top of the building block where he throws a guy off. Yeah, it's quite intense. You don't normally see stuff like that. Or, the exception of Tarantino, I think this has gone on to influence.
I thought it was absolutely hysterical seeing that guy just quietly accept the fact he's getting flipped over a balcony and then falling to his death without saying a single word.
I thought he'd been knocked out. I thought Carter knocked him out. And that's why I was just like, yeah, he was just flopping on the side, because I was thinking he seems a bit easy to push off. There's no like kind of back and forth.
On the whole, for me, I think that I know Get Carter gets a lot of praise. I think notoriously when you start reading about this film, you find out that it was Total Films, which is a magazine. It was voted as their best British film of all time. And while I don't think I can quite agree with that. I'm not desperate to go and revisit Get Carter, and maybe over the years it'll grow on me. But I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it on the whole.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It's a good film. It's not personally great for me, but I will recommend it to people.
So there is Get Carter. You can let us know in the comments below what you thought of Get Carter. But Andy and I are going to be back once again next week, where it's time to take a look at Batman Begins.
Batman.
Until then, get watching.
Wow. You certainly constipated, I'm not going to lie.